The VAR Show. The one place for your weekly football update.
Hola, very warm welcome to the VAR show, the show which talks about all the various major football leagues in detail. Today we are going to continue the theme of interviews and we have the captain of Bhutan national team, Mr. Shedrup Tshering with us. So without wasting much time, I would like to first thank Karma for coming on the show. Thank you so much and welcome to the show. And I would like to begin by asking you, how are you and what are you doing during this pandemic period?
Thank you for having me on the show. Right now, in this pandemic moment, I am in a place called Paro in Bhutan. I am under quarantine because as in Bhutan, there's not much cases. There's about 47 cases, out of which 9 has been all recovered. And there are no local transmission of the virus. And I think the government and the king, they have done a very good job in containing the virus. And out of the 47 cases are all bought from outside. There's no community spread. And the 47 cases which has been cases all have been coming out from the quarantine facilities. So far, Touchwood has been very well maintained.
So let's talk of a lighter topic, that is football, in comparison to what's happening in the world. So how is it playing in Bhutan? Like people outside of Bhutan maybe did not know much about the Bhutan league, and I spoke to Jigme also about same thing. Like, what is your experience? How is the league according to you?
The league, I think, in the recent years, it has been picking up and it's become very competitive compared to what has been for a past decade or so. And football now in Bhutan has been picking up, and a lot of kids have been taking football as a serious thing. Like I think one of the biggest influence on football is Thimphu City. Everybody knows him as the Bhutanese Ronaldo. One thing was in the past there was like, for example, myself and like a lot of kids, football was just like a hobby, just like we get together and play. And most of the parents didn't really influence the kids into going to play football because there was not much money or a future in football. But now I think, especially the win against Sri Lanka the past few years ago has really changed the dynamic in football here in Bhutan. And a lot of kids also, the parents are influenced them to play football and look into football now.
So we'll talk about your club, okay? Like Thimphu City. How is it? How's the culture? How's the infrastructure and everything as Thimphu City? And how does it feel to play for Thimphu City?
As you know, like in Bhutan, we don't have a professional league, or like we don't have professional footballers who take football as a full time. But I think Thimphu City with Power FC, now it's beginning to change. Now they have a structure. Now, like there's proper contracts for players. When there's transfer of players, there's proper contracts. Everything is in place. But still, I think football to be taken up in the future as a main thing is quite still difficult because of shortage of revenue in Bhutan. But people, if they can go beyond like how Thimphu City went, I think there is a very bright future. But I think now people are really taking interest into football, especially the kids these days.
So Thimphu City have not won the league for quite a while. Do you think it will change anytime soon?
Well, we are always one of the top contenders at the beginning of season, but as you know, anything can happen in a season. So, for example, last year we had a really good team, but we got some foreign players. They didn't perform as we expected them to play, because especially when you're spending a lot of money on our foreigners, we expect a lot of things. But it was a tough season for us, but we learned from our mistakes, and hopefully we were thinking this season might be the season to win it, but we have more important things in life just than football, like that virus.
So on a personal note, do you have ambitions to play outside of Bhutan?
Well, I do have, but the thing is, at the same time, I'm working regularly as a pilot in Druk Air, and I can't think of going outside. And plus, I'm not at an age where I'm like still young, where I can compete to my highest levels. So maybe like few years back, if I didn't have a job as a working as a pilot, maybe, but now not really.
Okay, like how you mentioned that you are a pilot and you work for Druk Air, and that's a very good segue for our next question. Like you are also a pilot for Druk Air. That's very cool. How do you manage to find the balance between playing and also doing your work in the aviation department?
This is a very interesting question because everybody likes to ask me this question, but like I'm like so lucky to be like born and working here in Bhutan because I work in a company who really uh, gives me motivation and also to gives me the chance to play football for what I love doing and supports me for what I'm doing. For example, like before we have games and all, we know the football schedule how it is. So I put a leave request saying, "Oh, from this time to this time, I want to take leave because I need to go practice with the team." And also in that way, the company has really been supportive of what I'm doing, and also for representing the country, they have been very supportive. And and people ask me like if I miss trainings and all. Like in a week, if every day is training, I try to I might miss like one or twice, but the trainings are always in the evenings. And so when I go for a flight, I go in the morning, I come back in the afternoon. So I don't really miss trainings because I go back to training in the evenings and I'll be back from the flight by that time.
So, did you ever think like you'll like while you're studying for aviation that you would be a footballer? Or when you're, which did you start first? Did you become a footballer or did you become a pilot first?
Well, I always loved playing football because my I was born into a family who loves sports. My uncles, my dad, and everybody. So we grew up playing football from a very young age, and I loved sports. Like I loved every sports, like basketball, cricket, F1, bike race, everything. But football really, I got really into football when I was back in Australia when I was doing my high school. So when I was in high school, I used to play for a local league in Australia. So from there, I started playing and picking up football. And at that time, my uncle who is the owner of Thimphu City. He was here back in Bhutan, and he was involved with in the Bhutan Football Federation. So I was still back down playing football in Australia, and he used to tell me like, why don't you come back to Bhutan and try us for the national team and all. So he had a very big influence on me for where I am today, like into playing football. So at back then I was still studying, and I knew like there was no future in football. Like if I came back to play football and take it as a full time. So and flying, I got into flying because in aviation because my dad is a pilot as well. So after finishing grade 12, my dad's like, "Oh, what do you want to do now?" So I was like, still a kid, 18-year-old. I didn't know what to do, what I really wanted. So I was like, maybe I'll just take up flying instead of, I know that when I come back to Bhutan, I'll not have the future in football. So I was like, let me just try out aviation. So when I was in Australia, I did my aviation. But during the holiday time, I had to come back to Bhutan, play for the league for a few games. I had to go back. Then the football really started kicking off when I finished my aviation and training in Australia. So when I came back in Bhutan, then I tried for the national team. I got in. Then I used to travel with the national team for like the championships. But I was still a kid, so I was learning from all the experience and older players.
So, did you ever feel like okay, like when you made it into football, I'll leave aviation or something?
No, not really, because like I said, like by then, even if I got into football, it was like there's no future in football. It didn't really pick up. Like football really picked up just like maybe 5-6 years ago in Bhutan. So I still knew there was no future. So, but I still love playing for sports because like sports is something that I really love playing. So.
So, are you looking into getting into management maybe after your playing career?
I don't know about managing because aviation is a long I can work to a very old age, so I'm still more concentrated in aviation right now than where I was when I was a kid playing football. So I will still be involved in football, but not like full time, but as a part time thing. I still because I love being around the game.
So, what is the best thing about being the captain of the Bhutan national team?
Well, there is no such thing as best thing because for me, especially, I just love playing football. I like just being with the team around and going on like when you have the matches in away, like spending time with them, training, joking, just training all the time. But it's like it's like what do you call it? It's an honor to play for Bhutan, especially standing in front of the country when the national anthem comes out outside when you're representing as like an ambassador. So it's like a very proud moment for me, especially when this kind of things happen.
So, when you look back in your career right now, what is that one moment that you will cherish throughout your life?
I think that will be against the win against Sri Lanka. That changed everything, especially football in Bhutan. That changed everything. Like people say, if you win, everything changes. If you lose, nothing changes. And that win, like in a way, it kind of united Bhutan, how they see sports as well. Like you won't imagine how many people turned up for the match against Sri Lanka in our home ground. Because nobody, when we went to Sri Lanka, nobody knew we were left for Sri Lanka. They were like, "Oh, this is a Bhutan team going down. They lose 5-6-0." And even when the day we got into Sri Lanka, it was I still remember it was in the evening. We were all like exhausted from the journey, and the next day for breakfast. At that time, my uncle was also the manager for the Bhutan national team. So he was downstairs reading a newspaper with the coach, and they were saying, "Oh, look at the Sri Lankan and ex captain." He said, "Oh, why are we even playing Bhutan for this World Cup qualifiers? It's like we don't even consider it as a match. We're going to win for sure." So in that way, it was like good for us, like we were like an underdog. They were thinking, "Oh, there's not a match." They were overconfident. So it was like a really nice thing for us. And for us, it was a good thing as well because like people knew we were gonna lose. So even if you lose, people will say, "We told you so." So if we won, it will be like, "Oh, what just happened?" So in that way, it was a very good thing for us, and it was a very good motivation for us. And just before the game, the coach, after we did our warm up, everything, he put on the board the article of what the captain said: Bhutan is not worth playing. So it was like it was an emotional day as well when we won, and at that day, I still remember that the day before the game at the press conference, the local newspapers asked the Sri Lankan coach, "Are there going to be a big crowd here for the game tomorrow?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't think so because apparently at that day, the game there was a big school cricket match going, and all the people were going to go watch the cricket game." So for our game, we had more Bhutanese supporters, like the medical students who were studying there, than them. So it was like it was like a good thing for us, and the luck was in our favor, and we scored 1-0 and we won. And when we came back to Bhutan, then there was the big news, "Oh, Bhutan won, blah 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 blah." So that day in the game back in Bhutan, the stadium, I think the capacity of stadium is 10,000. But the tickets sold out. People were climbing on trees. They had to close the stadium doors because there's so many people watching. And in the ground, you should feel the atmosphere. We couldn't even hear each other when we were talking. It was so loud. And it was like one of the best memories, and that I will always cherish for the rest of my life. It was a very emotional day because, we just showed what we can do. And I think from that day, football changed. People started noticing us. Even like the clubs, the local matches, when we have people used to come. Before it was just like a handful of people coming to watch the local club match. Now there's a few hundreds watching. People recognize you. So it was like a very big thing for like in football especially.
Okay, like in a wider scale, which club do you support, or which team do you support in world football?
In football, the world football, you mean?
Yeah.
I like Manchester United.
Okay, they are not.
For as far as I remember, I still like Manchester United.
They're not performing well these days. Like, how? What do you think of Ole? Do you think he should be like permanent manager, like he is right now, or they should go after someone else?
I think it's you can't expect to win as soon as you're in that job. Like I want to talk, for example, like look at Liverpool. How long have they been where they are for the past? How many years they've been rebuilding? And for Manchester United, after Sir Alex Ferguson left, I think the team started rebuilding. Most of the players left; they were getting old. So I think now we're getting a really good players like Fernandes, Rashford, Martial. They're all starting to play well. So I think maybe it just takes a few more years until they be on the top again.
Hopefully they reach on the top. And like since you have played at such a high level in Bhutan, and you are one of the icons of Bhutan football right now. So do you have any advice for young players who are just starting out?
Well, advice as in like what they say, stay in school, don't be naughty. But what I'm saying is like if you want something, you have to work hard for it. It doesn't just it takes time to get there, and you should work hard not just in training. You should do your self training, your like running and all. When people are not watching, you should work out. It's not just you do one training. You have to go back home, do your homework, do workout. You have to push yourself every day. It's the lesson you have to push, and always strive to be the best.
So on that note, I'll ask you one final question, Karma. Whom do you prefer, Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi?
I think they are very different players to me. Ronaldo is like a player, he can just score. He's a big build, where Messi, he's like more like a team player. Ronaldo is like there. You can always rely on him. But I think they are like I can't argue. I think they're both they're the top of the game. They're both best at what they're doing.
So on that note, Karma, thank you so much for talking to me, and I wish you all the best for your future endeavors, and whatever it is, be a pilot in Bhutan football. So best of luck, take care, and hope we can talk again soon. Bye.
Thank you very much. Stay safe. Bye bye.